Look, I'm a company man today. See? See? Instead of like being rogue, I'm going to actually hold the company line today.
Is that because somebody took your shirt and you needed something
else?
No,
actually it's because I chose to wear this today.
Oh, nice.
I shaved for you today. See?
You're so accommodating. Remember this?
I do. This is one of the first modern Eagles.
Yep.
Wow.
This was, what, 2004, I think?
Wow.
What was the idea of the modern Eagle?
It was a really thin finished, rosewood necked, big, thick sounding guitar.
Yeah.
The whole idea was like a vintage guitar, but with a bigger sound look. If you make the neck really, really thin and really long, you'll expect a thin sound out of the guitar. But a lot of these old vintage guitars had really short, big necks, you know. Our neck's a little bit longer, so to get the same strength, we started to experiment around with rosewood neck blanks, and it worked like a charm.
Yeah.
It worked great. And it was the beginnings of fooling around with staining tops like washed denim. You know, we would stain it blue and sand it and have fun with it, and you can see the yellow of the wood coming through and the yellow of the nitro coming through. But
is this
the whole idea was to have a big, strong sounding guitar.
Yeah. Is this the first sandouts that we did?
The beginnings of it.
Beginning of it, yeah. Look,
we weren't even telling anybody what we were doing. But this is a one-piece top on top of it, in which we don't get a lot of. Yeah. I mean, look, the trees, when they're really, really big, you can get a one-piece top out of it. But if the tree's not that big, you have to cut a thicker piece out of it, cut it in half, and open it like a book. It's called a book match. This came out of a tree that was so big it didn't need to be book matched. It was a one-piece top.
That's awesome. I love the one-piece tops.
And the other thing is that we started to futz around with not plating the bridges. That's a gold anodized, which is an acid dip.
Yeah.
On those aluminum bridges, and it worked like a charm. But it was a big day when we decided to quit plating those bridges, and that was the beginning of it. And then we realized we didn't even have to anodize them, and they were okay.
So there were a lot of sort of experimental ideas in this guitar, I think, right?
Yeah,
or a few,
except that
anyway.
I'd been playing one in it, and it sounded really good in the band, so it wasn't that experimental.
Yeah.
Was this the prototype of the first one?
Prototype number 1.
Modern Eagle 1.
Yep.
But at the time, we didn't even know we'd do it 2, so it probably isn't a Modern Eagle 1. It's probably
it just says Modern Eagle, yeah.
Oh, so this was the original prototype of the Modern Eagle.
This seems very private stocky, but it was a production line guitar. Was this an attempt to sort of bridge that gap between?
No, this was much more at the time of, it was supposed to be a higher end McCarty, really.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've learned a lot about pickups since this guitar was made. We've changed the bridge so it has a little brass insert now.
Right. So all of them had rosewood necks until...
Or really strong, whatever we had is real strong neck.
Okay, so that was the idea, it was strong regardless of whether... Because I think the 5 is mahogany.
I don't know. Let's pull it out and look at it.
Okay.
We'll learn a lot when we pull it up, but that's interesting for me. That's the first prototype Modern Eagle. We've sold a lot of Modern Eagles.
It looks so good. So what would you say is the overarching theme of the Modern Eagle, like the idea behind it?
So the overarching theme, while you're getting this guitar out, would have been a more figured top, stronger neck, a thin finish. Everything we'd learned up to date on that. I mean, boy, it's a Modern Eagle 5.
Yep, that's pretty.
And we were really starting to learn about using these mini switches as single coil switches, right? That's cool. That's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful guitar. Look at the curl in that thing. You need to get a real shot of this thing. This thing's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning.
And we started experimenting with a much smaller middle pickup, so it didn't get in the way of your pick attack.
Right.
And you could use it as a mixing tone. Also, there was a switch on it that switched between a 500K pot and a 250K pot.
And what about that too?
well, a 250K pot is a darker sound. If you put a 500K pot in a Strat, they're really bright. I mean, you need the 250K pot to calm the pickups down.
Okay.
So we figured, since you were doing all these mixing tones that were single coil, that if you had the option of having a 250K pot in the guitar, you could change how, you know, really bright or warm, dark the pickup was. It's subtle.
Yeah.
It's not like I hear nothing happening. Everybody hears a subtle thing happening.
Sure.
But we're starting to decide what the exact value of the pot should be for that model guitar, and then putting that in. And
right.
This was the beginnings of that.
So this single coil is kind of shifted more toward the neck. Is that it's to make it more bassy, obviously?
Actually, in a weird way, it's not.
Really?
It's exactly the distance from this coil when it's single coil and this coil when it's single coil. It's in the middle between the single coils. I mean, it looks that way at first take, but we put the slug coil next to the neck.
You know, I didn't even know that. I probably should have read that in the marketing material somewhere.
I probably never told anybody. But I remember telling John, put it in between, dead in the middle of the two single coils.
Right.
I mean, really visually that doesn't make sense, but when you look at it in that way, it makes complete sense.
See it now. That's very cool.
There's also these locking saddles.
I remember this.
And it was part of our tremolo system and putting locks in, and it worked really well.
So there are like 17 sounds in this thing.
Yep.
From what I remember. That's a lot.
Well, you've got this pickup, and you can make a single coil. This pickup, you can make a single coil. And then you've got this pickup, and then you've got this in humbucking, and this in humbucking, and there's all these combinations of sounds, and that doesn't even include what you can do with a switch.
Right.
Look, when I first went to Texas and was watching Bugs Henderson and Jimmy Wallace play, they were using the volume control as a tone control. They were turning the volume control from 10 down to 8.5 or 10 down to 9 to take a little of the high end off.
Right.
And that was part of their shtick, and I'd never seen it before. So there are sounds in this guitar having to do with turning the volume control down or turning it down to 3 and turning the gain up or starting to mess with the tone control that are in here as well. It's not just a combination of sounds. Right. Boy, this thing's never been played. Look, they never took the plastic off the tuning peg buttons.
It's a shame. Went right into the archives.
Maybe I should take it.
I think you should play it for a while. Get some scratches on it.
I'm a company man now, so I can't steal it. It's beautiful.
Get some belt buckle scratches on it.
Look, it's got some curly mahogany in it. Maybe I should come search the archives
before a gig.
But the problem is, I'm having such a good time with the guitars that I have. They're doing such a good job for me that I'm not nostalgic that way. Although there are some wonderful little gems in here that I just would like to get my hands on. You know.
Yeah, me too.